The social life of the average Colgate student was very different before the introduction of women onto the campus in 1970. In the 1950s and 60s, Colgate men spent many of their weekends off campus at schools like Wells College and Skidmore College, either on dates or in search of them. Nearby Casanova College was also a popular place to find a date. But as one graduate in the class of 1962 put it, they weren't the best looking or smartest women, but they were good for a cheap date. With so many students leaving the school on the weekends, it became very important to have a car on campus, a privilege reserved for juniors and seniors only. So, underclassmen relied completely upon their having friends in the junior and senior classes who had cars and were willing to bring them along. This was, for the most part, made possible through the underclassmen's participation in one of the school's fraternities. At the time, about 90% of students were members of such organizations, which meant it was never too hard to find a ride out of town on the weekends for freshmen and sophomores. So, for much of the university's history, a good portion of what made up the social experience for Colgate students did not involve being on campus at all. Instead, a good deal of the Colgate experience was, in fact, spent on the road to and from these other universities where students were going on dates. This high volume of traffic did, however, have its drawbacks. Many times, students were driving back to campus late at night after they had been drinking. Because of this, there were a number of accidents. Most notably, on September 18, 1959, two students in the class of 1962, Bruce Allen Littlefield and Arthur Frederick Lofgren Jr., were killed in a car accident on their way back to Colgate. Two other students from the class of 62 also died in separate, similar car accidents. John Hutchinson R. Scott was killed on May 8, 1959, and Peter William Barnett was killed on September 29, 1960. These accidents, however, did not change the culture of the school. Students continued to, for the next decade or so, leave the school on the weekends to go on dates. These dates, however, were not the only reason to leave the Colgate campus on weekends. In the 50s and 60s, the Colgate football team had an extremely strong following amongst the student body. It was not unusual for students to travel to every away football game, and in strong numbers. The football team stayed in the Northeast for most of their games, but when they did go far away to play schools like Louisiana State and Michigan, there were students who would make the long drive to see their Red Raiders play. While students did spend many weekends away from campus, even more were spent on campus. Here, many of the Colgate men developed the strong bonds not only to each other, but also to their university that characterizes the warm feelings they have towards their alma mater. At the time, there were three prominent party weekends on the campus for which students from surrounding universities would come to Colgate to attend the parties as dates to the Colgate students. These fall, winter, and spring party weekends were, for many people, the high points of their time at Colgate, and have left a lasting legacy at the school in the form of the modern spring party weekend. So, even though they might not have spent every second of their free time on campus, it is rare for the men of pre-coeducational Colgate to have anything other than love for their alma mater. Today, many return every 5 years for reunions and also regularly attend the homecoming football games. And, many times, accompanying them to these reunions and football games are the very women who they left Colgate to go see for dates.